I'm completely blessed. Get a lot of questions about real estate. That is my craft. That is my job. That is my career. That's one of the three things that I enjoy most. Of course, the other one's fat loss and muscle building, and I do coach on that realm, and also artificial intelligence implementation into different workflows and businesses. But first and foremost, primarily, let's quit showboating and let's talk a little bit about real estate and what's happening in the current market. California is not a cheap place to live. It's expensive. The price per square foot out here is very much higher than the rest of the nation. In some places, 50%, could be 60%, depending on comparing rural America to the townhouses and condos of Beverly Hills. But looking at that, we all have to pay insurance. If you own a house out here in Southern California, you're going to be paying a premium for insurance, whatever that may be. And it seems like because of the wildfires and what they title is climate change, that is increasing the insurance premiums. I know as I talk to real estate sellers, talking to them about their current insurance company, some of the reasons for selling, well, that happens to be because their insurance companies aren't going to be here. And it just seemed like that's the writing on the wall for them. And they want to leave Southern California. There are a lot of changes on the landlord-tenant things as well, coming up on different ballot measures that are going to be coming up in November. So before you vote for anything, make sure that as a homeowner, if you want to stay in California, well, even if you want to go, try to leave it better for the rest of us. Read those propositions carefully before executing them or signing on the dotted line during when you're putting together your ballot when it comes to those voting measures. Now, I will tell you with insurance, it could be maybe a more easy fix than people would think, but we have to look at why the charges are in place, what they're being based on, and what part of that insurance that we're paying happens to be state of California taxes, if in fact that's even a thing. Look at those premiums, because I know if we look at dollars per gallon per gallon of fuel with gas, there's a lot of other taxes that we live in California have that other states do not. And of course, yes, we have more commerce. Yes, we have more vehicles. Yes, it's often touted that we're the fourth largest economy in the world, being California. But with all that money coming in, wouldn't that equate to us being able to live for less money than other states? Don't know. Anyway, looking at insurance, that's something to look at. If you're considering selling your house, you definitely want to find out where your insurance carrier is, because I guarantee the buyer will. They're going to reach out and they're going to find out if in fact insurance is being offered on your residence, the one that they're going to be buying, what that premium looks like, what it costs, and if it's going to be the fair plan, what that number looks like. There are some additional insurance increases that are going to be happening here, and I'm at May 12th, 2025. Yes, that's perfect. May 12, 2025, listening to some of the stuff out there with regard to the news about insurance. It's not only climate change that is apparently affecting residential insurance rates, but also climate change is going to be hitting the automobile market out here. I'm not sure how that is somewhat the same. I don't know how forest fires impact vehicles. Maybe it's because the roads get hot and pop tires and melt down vehicles. Maybe that's why, with volcanic activity, of course. Tongue in cheek, but please understand that these rates are coming, these rate hikes, and for homeowners, it would be a horrible place to be behind the ball if rates start to increase to a point where people can no longer afford their residences. It seems like there's ulterior motive in place. It doesn't make sense, us being the fourth largest economy, as is talked about, how people are getting beaten up on the housing ownership end just by owning real estate, and then on top of that, having these massive insurance prices. I believe that these overcharges, if in fact they exist, and again, I'm not an insurance expert, I'm a real estate agent, but I see the pain imposed when I have a real estate buyer wanting to buy a particular piece of real estate, and the insurance costs being so aggressive, so astronomical, that it excludes them from being able to purchase that residence. And we're not talking a house on a cliff with thousands of acres behind it of untaken care of, there's a better word for that, but basically forest land or shrubbery that hasn't been attended to in a number of years. I'm talking about a tract home next to other tract homes, all connected to other tract homes in other neighborhoods, none of which, except for miles away, that might even be close to maybe a hillside or some additional shrubbery. That's what I'm talking about. But that homeowner goes in, waits a little long to secure insurance, and then all of a sudden it's fight or flight when it comes to them being able to determine whether a policy can be written, and if so, what the cost of that policy is, and then often get priced out because that's not $800 to $1,200 a month. This is closer to $10,000 in some respects, depending on the property. These are things, if you're a real estate buyer out there, that now you have to factor in. Before, when I was selling real estate, and I've been doing this since 1998, that was never even a thought. Insurance, yeah, it's going to be about X amount of dollars per month, and that's very typical. That's what it's going to be. California has become incredible in the insurance market, with a lot of insurance companies saying that they're going to leave poised and ready with their luggage by the door. Again, that to me seems to be a little bit questionable as well. Are they really going to leave? Or are they just saying that so we can pay more rates, and they'll end up saying, we'll save you, and then they'll end up increasing their rates anyway? What do we ask for? Look to your politicians. Reach out to them. Find out if there's some better control than the California Fair Plan, something else that they can do to try to help us solve this riddle with regard to insurance. Yes, California is great for a lot of people. There's a lot going on out here, a lot of change under the forefront. We see people as they're moving from more of the left to more center approaches to things and lifestyles and thoughts. Maybe that's where California is going to end up being, but right now we're far from that point. This is where it hits the pocketbook. Inflation is an issue, and as long as we have a government in place that's all for themselves and maybe not as much for the people as they should be, I think we're going to create extra issues. And this one is hitting homeowners in the pocket, making affordability of being able to continue paying their mortgage brought into question, especially when the housing insurance rates and the vehicle insurance rates start to go up. Look at those propositions that come on the ballot. Make sure you're reading them carefully, not listening to all the news out there. Again, massive amounts of misinformation are being reported. They're put out there in a very believable format, making us want to vote for particular things without actually reading it ourselves. This is becoming more important, and when I was a kid, I could have cared less about this. But now I'm in my mid-50s. This is important, folks. It's important for your kids. It's important for my kids, other people's kids. It's important for the future, and heck, if we're able to hold on another 5 years, the way that we might age might be cut dramatically, giving us super long lifespans. So even if you think you got one foot in the grave, think again, because that could be fixed with the technological advancements and artificial intelligence, the way that they're putting these models in charge of medical care. It could be that we're going to be living a lot longer than we expect, and by our own choice. So don't just think this is something you don't have to report on. This is important for everybody, homeowners and non-homeowners alike. I'm Connor with Honor. We will see you in the next one.